Father in heaven, be with us throughout this midday power surge is our prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Greetings, salutations to Safe to Serve International and first-time viewers. Welcome to this midday power surge. This is your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez, on this Tuesday, November 14th. Welcome one, welcome all to this midday power surge. We have a lot to cover today, and as I was considering the content of this presentation, I have to do a brief, small mini series. So today is going to be part one of a three-part series on this theme. Friends, right now, we're seeing statements from the policy books of the sinister and draconian diabolical leaders talking about digital ID being embedded in your body. Their agenda is simply to crash the present economic structure and then to launch their new economy. And that new economy is going to be an economy of slavery to enslave the masses. That's their objective. And their new movement, 50 in 5 years, is actually digital prison. Beloved, right now, I'm going to share with you something. This is Mother Beast, Popery, the papacy, with her 8 tentacles. And all of these tentacles are connected to Mother Beast. The tentacles are leading to the mark of the beast, M-O-B, false worship, Sunday worship by law. Listen to me attentively. I am not going to wait until the digital ID is connected to Sunday worship by law. Where do I draw the line? I will draw the line when it becomes a law in this land that the digital ID must be embedded under my skin. That is a time I will say enough is enough. All right, friends. How close are we to this? We need to get right into this. Digital prison, slavery is on the horizon. Let me begin by sharing with you what the biblical principle is. Then you can understand clearly the counterfeit. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if you understand the end goal, you'll better comprehend the signs of the times. End goal. The Bible tells us in John chapter 8 and verse 36, the end goal of Christ's ministry is to make us free. Yes, even free from sin. Romans chapter 6, verse 18. And in John chapter 8 again, and verse 32, Jesus says, you shall know the truth. The truth shall make you free. Free from sin, free from Babylon, free from Satan's entrapments, Satan's economy, that word, economy of slavery, economic trap to make us free. But remember, Satan is the counterfeit. Satan is the Antichrist, principally. And on this earth, there is a chief Antichrist, Popery, and her allies. So what will be Satan's end goal? And Popery's end goal? Not to make us free, but to make us slaves. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 19. They promise you liberty and freedom, but it leads to slavery, corruption. If you understand the end goal, you'll better understand how close we are to the end. Slavery, it's right there, friends. And who has been the backbone of the slave trade? Popery. That's the statement, headline. And also in the Bible, Revelation chapter 18, verse 3, she makes the merchants rich. Verse 11 through 13, they will enslave the masses, even the souls of men. You mean the bodies and the souls of men will be enslaved. So what then is the digital ID under your skin? Embedded in the body. It is slavery. In other words, my friends, in past times, they put handcuffs on slaves, shackles on slaves, people. But now, they're using digital devices. I have to give you part 2 and part 3 very shortly. Let's get back to this. So how can we identify the digital slavery? How? How may we know how close we are to it? The Bible gives us a precedent, and that is found in Genesis chapter 41 and Genesis chapter 47. The account of Pharaoh in Egypt. Somebody is going to retort and say, but wait a minute, that was in the past. How can we be certain? What has been shall be. Well, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. That's clear. All right. Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. That's clear. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 6 and verse 11. The things of the past will be repeated. I'll give you a few more. Listen, friends. So important. The Bible tells us popery, the papacy, receive power from the dragon. Don't forget that. Apostate Protestant America speaks as the dragon. Revelation 13, verse 2, and chapter 13, verse 11. And the nations as a whole are likened unto a dragon. Wait a minute now. The dragon is Satan. Revelation 12, verse 7 through 9. However, or may I say, in addition, the Bible tells us that Egypt and Pharaoh are likened unto a dragon. Ezekiel 29, verse 2 and verse 3. Look at this now. Oh, friends. The Pope made it clear. The account of Joseph in Egypt is an end-time application. Was there slavery in the time of Egypt with Joseph and Pharaoh, the Israelites and the other people?
Io ho la nostalgia che questa separazione finisca e ci dia la comunione. Io ho nostalgia di quell'abbraccio di qua, nel quale parla la Sacra Scrittura.
Hunger, starvation.
I fratelli di Giuseppe affamati.
I'll give him a few more seconds.
Sono andati
and take him off my
Egitto.
screen. Egypt, move on from that. And friends, fresh off the press, Fox News headline, billionaire predicts probably recession in 2024. He suggests America entering 7 lean years of Pharaoh's dream. Listen to me attentively. They have been calling for an economic recession, a market crash for the past, 10 ever since 2016. We're in 2023. Here's my point. I strongly believe they will crash the economy when the digital structure is fully installed. So then they can, follow me, turn off the old system, reboot, new system. And the new system will come with conditions, a digital-only society. Here's my point. So if it's ready by 2024, then they'll crash it in 2024. If not, it's when it's ready, they will turn the whole thing off. Have you ever heard of reset? The great reset? The great refresh? The great reboot? That's a merchant. Here is the second clip. It says, the business mogul predicts what's coming. And then he mentions 7 lean years of biblical prophecy. He mentioned Pharaoh's dream down there in Egypt. 7 fat cows, 7 skinny cows. Next, this is a president of France, Emmanuel Macron. So you have a merchant and now a president, all saying the same. Listen, the end of abundance is here. End of abundance, skinny cows.
What we are living through is a time of great upheaval. Firstly, because we are witnessing, and not just since this summer, but over the past few years, the end of what we might have seen as abundance. And for those who enjoyed it, it is also the end of a carefree time. Our freedom, the liberty to which we have grown accustomed to in our lives, has a price, and sometimes when we have to defend it, we have to make certain sacrifices as we fight to defend it.
Hold on. There it is, friends. Let us now analyze the biblical account with Pharaoh, Egypt. Genesis chapter 41. There it is, friends. 7 fat cows, 7 skinny cows, 7 healthy ears of corn, and 7 withered ears of corn. And what happened in verse 35 and verse 36? Pharaoh was told in Egypt he should control the food supply, control access to food. Okay, that was in the past. What would be the modern translation? The application for the last days? That is going to be under a digital ID. To access food, you need the digital ID. What if that is now placed under your skin? So if you reject it being placed in your body, what's going to happen? No access to food. So what is the work of preparation? Talk to me. Start growing your own food in the country. It's time to store up. It's right there. Listen to this Jesuit-educated and Jesuit-trained UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres.
This year's food crisis is about lack of access. Next year's could be about lack of food.
There it is, friends. And in verse 13, it says now, we're looking at the account with Pharaoh in Egypt. That's the blueprint. Verse 13 of Genesis 47. And there was no bread in all the land. Food shortage. Look at the statement in the red box. If you control the food supply and access to food, you can control the people. All right. Verse 14. And Joseph gathered up all the money in Egypt. The government controlled all the money supply and access to money. What would be the modern translation? Crash the whole economy, make everything digital, and then implement the global central bank digital currency, CBDC. Look at that, friend. So what must we expect? The crashing of the market. That's it. The tightening of the economy. That's what's coming next. Listen, the same idiom, colloquial statement, the earthly proverb goes like this. Who controls the food supply controls the people. Last phrase, who controls money controls the world. All right, I wonder who does that. Based on the Bible, Revelation 18, it is potpourri. Babylon, verse 2, verse 3, verse 11 through verse 13. All right. Verse 15, in the account of the dragon power, Pharaoh, and when money failed in the land. Do you see it now? So money did not fail in the land until Pharaoh controlled the monetary supply. Don't expect the crashing of the market. If this is the crash, that will bring on the national Sunday law, the mark of the beast. It will not take place until their financial, digital only society is in place. Does it make sense to you now? Verse 15, what happened next? The people now became government paupers. They were unprepared. They had to go and beg money. And beg money. Sound. The box. And beg money. Yes, beg food from the government. Verse 16, verse 18, verse 19. The Bible tells us the people went to the government and said, listen to this, friends. Listen, we no longer have money, nor food, nor herds of cattle. All we have is our bodies and our lands. Government, buy our bodies, buy our lands, and we will be your servants. We will be your slaves. That's it, my friends. And what are we told? Welcome to 2030. You owe nothing. You'll be happy. You're slaves. Yes, you're slaves. You don't own anything. You don't own your car. You don't own your house. My friends, we just saw that in the template in Egypt, the dragon power, and America will speak like a dragon. Revelation 13:11 and verse 12, verse 15 through verse 17. And notice, popery is behind all of this. The Pope says, you have no right to private property. Your right to private property is not absolute. It's not untouchable. Oh, brothers and sisters, look at that right there. You can see then the WEF, the UN, they're drinking the wine of Babylon. That's what he said. It's in the document. Yes, friends. That's it. What a day when the people realize that this draconian system is actually the brainchild of popery and Satan. Will they come out from Babylon? Yes, they will come out. And that's why, as God's people, we must put ourselves in position with our ministries, our churches, our families and homes to receive the sheep who are coming in. Because there is a large group of people, I won't say large, hyperbole, a group of people in the world, they are waking up. Imagine when they realize, 2 points, imagine when they realize this system, tyrannical system, is coming from popery behind the scenes. And then they flee popery. But watch now. They remain as Sunday goers, Sunday worshipers. And then they realize that Sunday worship came from popery. They're coming out of the Roman Catholic churches. They're coming out of the Protestant churches, nature worshipers. They're coming out of false religions. And that's why midday power search is so important. Like it, give it wings. Share it, give it wings. All right, here is one of my two chief witnesses. This is G. Edward Griffin, author of several books, but this one called The Creature of Jekyll Island. All right, you can pause the video and read the words in the red box. He is renowned for his great analysis, historical record, and his predictions. The system of popery. He spares no one. He does not bite his tongue. And Bill Hughes, in his book, The Secret Terrorists, addresses the creature from Jekyll Island. All right? Look at this now. Listen to what he says here. Listen.
And we finally come to the answer to the question of...
By the way, preface, he actually states that very, very soon, they will crash the economy, this one, in order to launch a digital-only economy. That's the point you must listen for. Here it is.
And we finally come to the answer to the question of why are they doing that when we take a good look at this thing called the Great Reset. Now, let's just take a moment on that. So now we know the World Economic Forum, which boasts of its membership of being the very top people in all the major countries of the world. Many of those have their prime ministers and top government officials as graduates of the World Economic Forum. So this is no small...
So friends, he can only see the WEF and the prime ministers, chancellors, princes, and presidents. But who controls all of them? Revelation 17:18, the harlot, clip 2.
So they're thinking globally now. And it's clear that when you go to the World Economic Forum, and you see what they're talking about and their recommendations and their predictions for the future, you have the answer to this question. They want all money to be gone. Their plan is the banker's dream, a cashless society. Nobody has any money. What you have are units in a bank account completely managed by the banks. And those number of units will serve as a kind of money, but they won't be money that you can put in your mattress or you can earn by striking a contract on a free market basis with somebody. All contracts have to be gone through the banks and through the government.
Listen, let me not add anything. Clip 3.
If you have a low a social credit score, meaning like people like myself who are critical of these things, we will have a very, very low social credit score. And people like us and people like you and people like many of our neighbors and friends who aren't aware of this yet will find themselves in a position where if they speak against their leaders in any way or express dissatisfaction in any way with what is going on, they will be deprived of their ability to buy things. They'll be deprived of their ability to travel. Their food quotients will be reduced. They won't be able to buy gasoline. They won't have the money to pay for rent or roof over their heads. They won't be able to buy food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education. They'll be frozen out of society, and we will have reached a kind of master control over the whole population of the world that has never been even imagined until fairly recently. So that's my answer to your question. The reason that the world is against money is because they want to replace it with social credit system. That's the short answer to all of that.
Mercy, friends. Mercy. Last one.
No, and I see the path as clear as day towards the digital dollar. Help me understand this. When you say even the Fed wants to destroy the dollar, though, why do you need to destroy the dollar to get to the cashless system?
Yes, good question.
Because as long as the dollar exists, people will have large amounts of it. Not only the bankers, but a lot of people outside of the banking community have inheritances. They have corporations, they have businesses that they're running, and they can be independent. And so that independence has got to be removed. And that's the same reason the family has to be removed. Because they want people totally dependent on the state for every minute aspect of their lives.
That's the nail, friends. That's the nail in their coffin. And here comes WEF. Chief, hear what he says.
Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us.
That's it. And the Pope is on the same bandwagon. But the Pope is the one in charge. How will they do it? I don't know. But here is one medium through which they might work. You mean a global cyber pandemic shut the whole thing down?
We all know.
Yes.
But still pay insufficient attention.
Listen.
To the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole.
Yes.
The COVID.
Yes, you get the point, friends. That's the objective. Shut everything down and then what? Reset. And listen to me now. The 50 in 5 years is actually digital prison. Here it is, my friends. I've been covering this ever since this news broke. 50 in 5 years. 50 nations going completely digital. In the next 5 years, all right, there it is. IDs, all digital. Payments, data exchange, a digital-only society. And who is behind it? The video clips I'm going to share with you in a few seconds. They spoke about this on yesterday, November 13th, and they mentioned the World Bank is behind it. The IMF is behind it. Listen to me now. They don't have the missing link. Look at this clip right here. This is Popri behind the scenes. He instructs the World Bank and the IMF, and they are the ones who launched the Digital Public Infrastructure, DPI. Oh, brothers and sisters. The Pope's new economic order, slavery. The EU is about to vote on this right now. Let me give it to you. Look at this, friends. Look at all these aspects of society. You won't be able to access these areas of society unless you have the digital ID. It's called Advancing Digital Agency, World Economic Forum. Look this up on the next page. They tell us the digital ID will be embedded in your body. How many of you saw that? Look at this, friends. Next page. It's right there. Look at the words in the red box. From left to right, it mentioned the digital ID. 3 columns. Now, evolution and future. Now, consent, traditional intermediaries, and user content based on the web, browsers, apps, and mobile devices. But in the coming future, it says now, next level of data intermediaries embedded in the body, in your homes, in your cities. That is where Andrew Henriquez is going to draw the line. In my body, my friends, I said no to their pandemic prick, not in this body. Chapter 1 of Daniel and verse 8, Daniel purposed in his heart not to defile his body. And God stood for Daniel. I believe God will stand for me. If you stand for God, he will stand for you, defend, protect, and preserve you. Look at this. Without it, you'll be cut off, closed off from society. Slavery, right? The backbone of slavery is popery. That's it. Chapter 18, verse 11 through verse 13. The slavery, last phrase, red words, the slavery of popery with his merchants. They will enslave the souls, the bodies of men. That's it, friends. Imagine that day. Here it is. It is digital prison. Alex Newman and OAN, One American News. Millions of subscribers on YouTube. Some people are waking up. Clip 1, listen.
Here, can you remind us all, Alex, why this whole push is so dangerous for our freedom and individual liberty?
Well, thank you, Allison. It's great to be here. And I think one of the key things people need to understand is this actually means the end of all privacy. Once everything is digital, everything then is surveilled, everything is monitored. Once you combine that with AI technology and allow all this data to be mined, analyzed, tracked, shared, what you're dealing with here is a digital panopticon. A panopticon was this kind of idea for a prison where every single prisoner could be visible at every moment of the day, no matter what they were doing, right from the middle of the structure. That's what we're dealing with here, except on a global level. And then you...
Oh, my friends, that's it. Prison, not one, but others are waking up.
I think it's very hard for people who've grown up and enjoyed Western liberty and human liberty to imagine literally that we're going into a system where literally our homes, our cars, our communities become digital concentration camps.
And some people thought she was simply giving her opinions. It's in the document. The words in the red box. The next level, data intermediaries will be embedded in your body, your homes, your cities. Digital ID under your skin. We are being surrounded. I won't play this clip. Let me move on.
And the reality, as the financial system gets more controlling and more invasive, it's a little bit like bringing up a corral around us. And CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and vaccine passports or digital IDs are sort of the last shutting of the gate.
Have the people of this world become wiser than the children of light? Luke 16 and verse 18. Welcome to 2030. You own nothing. But watch, in chapter 47 of Genesis, that's our template, verse 21 and verse 27. It clearly says that Pharaoh moved the people from the country into the cities. That's the template. So what's coming? 15-minute cities. Slavery, my friends. You know what? Let me move on from this. In France, it's going on. In Spain, it's going on. Even in America, I covered this on yesterday.
Life from where you shop to where you work, all within a 15-minute walk.
Sounds pretty nice, right? Cities around the country are already doing it. NBC2 meteorologist Lauren Hope finds out if during Ian recovery...
Enough. All right, friends? And remember, where must God's people be found? In the country right now. He says it's going to be embedded in our bodies. The digital ID. Listen.
And then you mentioned the World Economic Forum. When you combine this with the ravings of people like Klaus Schwab, who thinks of himself, at least, as a pioneer in what he calls the fourth industrial revolution. He did a whole book on this. I encourage people to read it because he explains that eventually all these digital technologies are going to be embedded under our skin. Some of them will even be embedded into our brains. And he says this clearly in his book. He says it clearly in public interviews. He says eventually we're going to see a fusion of our digital and our biological identities. So that's where all this is headed toward. It means the end of privacy, the end of freedom, and a totalitarian global system that will be essentially inescapable. That's really the end goal here, Allison.
Yeah,
You know, first, these clips you're watching are placed on a platform with millions of subscribers. Other people are waking up. What about our people? You know what? I have no time for this. Let me move on. Enough. Okay? Let's get back to our template. The Bible tells us that the brethren of Joseph had to bow down to the government of Egypt in order to get food. What comes to your mind? A time is going to come. Human laws will be made so stringent. Men and women will not dare observe God's seventh-day Sabbath for fear of wanting food and clothing. They will join with the world in transgressing God's laws. All right, friends. Now, they will tell us what we're now seeing with the digital ID under your skin, in your body, in your head, embedded. It's a part of Revelation 13. My eyes were wide open, ears perked up when I watched and heard what they said. Roll the clip.
ID, but Alex, to touch on what you just mentioned, how are more people not seeing and understanding what's happening here? And how can anyone not see the parallels also to what's mentioned in Revelation chapter 13?
Yeah, Revelation chapter 13 is something everybody needs to go reread right now. Right, when this was written 2,000 years ago, the idea that some global system would be able to stop every person on the planet from buying or selling if they wouldn't take some mark, if they wouldn't participate in some system, must have sounded absolutely crazy, Allison. I mean, there was no global government at the time. There were people scattered all across the face of the earth, people living in the jungles that nobody had ever seen before. The idea of a global system stopping everybody would have just been simply inconceivable. And yet today, we're actually watching the architecture of this abomination being rolled out before our eyes. And I think the reason people haven't caught on, Allison, there's several, right? We are now several generations into a dumbing down and indoctrination campaign taking place in the public schools. We now have a just ubiquitous false narrative coming out of the fake media, coming out of the mainstream media, where nothing is put into context, nothing of any substance is going to be revealed to the people consuming this media. And then you combine that with all the distractions, right? They're trying to divide Americans. They want you divided on what football team you support. They want you divided on what color your skin is, on whether you're a man or a woman or a bi-gender. So all of these things contribute, I think, to the massive blind spot that is allowing all of this to happen. Now, again, is the time, folks, for people to be paying attention and getting involved.
Friend, I'm going to stop right now and pick this up in part 2. Imagine when we get into position and we give the people the missing links. The great puppet master, what true worship is, the sanctuary message, the true Sabbath. They're coming out. Popery and apostate Protestantism. However, I'll give you one more. He mentioned one of my 5 keys of survival. I was smiling. Praise God. Listen as I close.
And we'll wake up. Alex, quickly before we're out of time, what can or should we be doing during this time, and what should our so-called leaders be doing to counteract this?
Well, there's a lot that can and should be done. At the individual level, you want to use cash as much as possible. Stop using their digital payments and all the rest of it. At the local, the community level, you want to start creating networks. Get farmers and plumbers and people who provide different services together. Find ways to collaborate together outside of the system as much as possible. At the state level, work on...
Mercy. The 5 keys of survival: conversion, country living, food, water, resources on your property. Number 4, being independent of the system. Evangelism. Number 5, helping the less fortunate, the bartering system. Oh, friends, I'm going to stop it right here. By God's grace, I'll see you again on tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern for Midday Power Surge. Like, share this so we can rescue souls from Babylon before it's too late. Remember, the Lord is soon to come, and the protest continues.